الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار كما تعلمون اليوم أن نحن ما زلنا في شهر رمضان المبارك وقلنا أن طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. ومن أنواع العلوم التي يجب أن نتعلمها في رمضان من يرخص له الفطر. So seeking knowledge is compulsory on every Muslim, man and woman. And because we're in Ramadan, we have to know when somebody is ill, or a woman is pregnant, or a woman is breastfeeding, or somebody is doing very, very difficult physical hard work, or a very old man. So we need to know the rules about these people. What should they do about their fasting? Because people cannot their fast or break their fast according to their desire, but their mind tells them they can't do that. It has to be according to fiqh, according to understanding, the proper understanding of Ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and the other great scholars during the Prophet's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because they know Islam, they understood Islam, and they lived with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they listened to the fatwa he was giving to the Sahaba sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you must not give fatwa yourself unless it is backed up by a verse from the Quran or by hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or his companions, the scholars of the companions, or by a local imam who is more knowledgeable than you. So never give fatwa from your own thought. Never give your opinion in Islam about other things unless you back it up by somebody who's more knowledgeable than you. Because it is very sinful, and it's a big sin to give your opinion about something you are ignorant about and you are not knowledgeable. يرخص للفطر الشيخ الكبير. So rule number 1, inshallah, try to memorize it. If a very old man, 70 years or 80 years or 90 years, and it's very difficult for him to fast, he faces difficulty in fasting, he is allowed and permitted to break his fast and not to fast in Ramadan. Whether some days or the days that he cannot fast. So this is rule number 1. And if he cannot fast throughout the year as well, he doesn't have to repeat those days. He can pay fidya, iftar, miskin, at'am miskin. I'll come to it inshallah, according to what Ibn Abbas said. The next excuse is for the woman, a very old woman. She can break her fast as well. It is permitted for her to break her fast. Third rule, المريض الذي لا يرجى برؤه. The person who is very sick, he is continuously sick, he is permitted to break his fast. وأصحاب الأعمال الشاقة, and those who do very difficult activities, very difficult work, breaking stones in the mountains, carrying stones on their shoulders, carrying bags of wheat, 50 kilos, 60 kilos, into warehouses and out of warehouses. If it's extremely difficult for them to work properly and to perform properly at work, they have the permission to break their fast and then fast another day instead. Okay, so this is another rule that it's important to learn. So if somebody's in prison, for example, he's been asked to carry so many things, even if he's a young person, but he's been asked to carry things up and down 9 stories, 50 kilos on his back, okay? Or 20 kilos here, 20 kilos here, the whole day has to do it. So he has difficulty. So he's permitted to break his fast. And they can't change their job. Somebody might say, oh, why can't they change their job? They can't find another job. It's not easy sometimes in a specific city or a specific town, or because you don't have many skills, it's not easy for you to find any job except those difficult jobs. So that's important as well to understand. The other thing is that we have now, what do they do, those people who are going through this difficulty and they can't fast at all, they can't repeat that day? So they take some food for every day, they break their fast and they give it to a poor person. وعليهم أن يطعموا عن كل يوم مسكينا وقدر ذلك بنحو صاع. والصاع هو قدح وثلث، يعني على حسب البلدة، على حسب القمح وكذا. فممكن تسأل, you can ask the local imam exactly what to give, because sometimes he might tell you, give me 6 pounds or give me 5 pounds, all right? But it is stated in the fiqh books what is it exactly the amount of wheat or date or whatever, banana, or the food that you want to give. But you don't have these things, you can give money instead, 6 pounds or 7 pounds, 8 pounds. But you ask again a scholar or the imam of your mosque. This is for every day. So صاع ونصف كما ذكرنا. قال ابن عباس رخص للشيخ الكبير أن يفطر. رخص للشيخ الكبير أن يفطر ويطعم عن كل يوم مسكينا ولا قضاء عليه. رواه الدارقطني والحاكم وصححاه. So Ibn Abbas mentioned through his books, he's the cousin of Rasulullah and he's a great scholar. So inshallah you feel secure about his opinion. So he said, the old man can break his fast and he gives food and he feeds somebody who is very poor or poor and he does not have to repeat the fast or repeat that day that he missed in Ramadan. Okay? وروى البخاري عن عطاء أنه سمع ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما يقرأ وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. So he read the verse from the Quran. قال ابن عباس ليست بمنسوخة، هي للشيخ الكبير والمرأة الكبيرة لا يستطيعان أن يصوما فيطعمان مكان كل يوم مسكينا. So he used the evidence that why the person who's very ill continuously, he can give somebody food and not fast, and the old man and the ajuz. So he mentioned the verse and he mentioned the excuse. Now, also the other type of people that they can break their fast. Al-hubla wal-murda'. The women who breastfeed. And the pregnant. So if your wife is pregnant or she's breastfeeding, please do not argue with her and force her to fast, because she is allowed to break her fast in Ramadan. Many husbands and many families and many parents, they force their daughter to fast, even she's pregnant, even she is breastfeeding. She doesn't have to. She's one of the people who is excused. See, Islam is easy. And Allah has provided a merciful, rules in Islam. Allah is merciful and His Messenger, and the rules of Islam are merciful on us and everybody, especially the weak and the vulnerable. So, now somebody might say, oh, if she's worried about herself or she's worried about her child inside her womb, when does she break her fast? Right. Even if she's worried about one of them, either herself or the baby inside her womb, she can break fast. Or worried about both. So they are allowed to break their fast, al-hubla wal-murda. The woman who's pregnant and the one who breastfeeds, they are allowed and entitled to break their fast if they are worried or scared about either their body or the body of the baby, or they are worried about both. They could have harm, they could receive harm. And now, so as they pay, they don't have to repeat those days. And depending on the conditions. And in details, if you want, after the Friday prayer, I can discuss with you. So, because some women, they get pregnant every year. MashaAllah. And they have a baby. So let's say 7 children within 7 years. So when she's going to find the time to repay those days for breastfeeding and for getting pregnant. So it'll be very hard on her to fast these days. So Allah is merciful with her. She doesn't have to repeat. And depending on the conditions of why she broke the fast. Okay? So that's another rule you have to educate yourself and your wives about. Because you must not make your wife struggle in those days when she's especially pregnant and breastfeeding. You have to be kind and gentle and helpful and teach your children to help her in preparing the food and preparing so many things in the house. Ihsan, you have to apply ihsan. Because Ramadan is not only about fasting in the day and praying Taraweeh in the mosque. It's about your manners and your actions at home, with your neighbors, and at work, and with your children. And by the way, for the young man, even if you help your little brothers and sisters with the intention of supporting your parents, this is وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. This is a huge act of worship. For the sake of Allah, you will get lots of good deeds out of it. Even if your little brother annoys me, even your little sister difficult with you, if you be patient with them, and your mother said, can you help your sister, can you help your brother in their studies, in their homework, in carrying this, in doing that, in tidying this, cleaning the kitchen, so yeah, you will get reward as Salat al-Rahim because you're helping your brother, but you get a lot more because you are obeying your parents and you're doing it to help and support your parents and doing ihsan to your parents. So always do your intention, use your intention for 3 different types of deeds to get 3 different rewards. Salat al-Rahim, wa bil-walidayni ihsana, helping a younger person in your family, Salat al-Rahim. See? So make sure that you collect a lot of good intentions when you do your actions. That's very useful and important. Right. وكان ابن عباس يقول لأم ولده له حبلى. Ibn Abbas, he used to say to the mother of his son while she's pregnant, أنت بمنزلة الذي لا يطيقه فعليك فداء. You are in a situation of those who cannot stand fasting, who cannot bear fasting, who cannot carry on fasting during the day. So he explained to her the verse of the Quran about yatiquna, which means la yatiquna. They found it very difficult to fast and to carry on with the rest of the day and the rest of the activities. فَعَلَيْكِ الْفِدَاء وَلَا قَضَى عَلَيْكِ. You just pay money and you don't have to repeat those days. Just pay money and you don't have to repeat those days. So this is examples of how the Sahaba understood the verses and they applied it in their daily life and so on and so forth. طيب الآن في عندنا طلبة عندهم امتحانات، أولادنا، أخوتنا، أصدقائنا عندهم امتحانات في الجامعة، وأحيانا يشتغلون في النهار وأحيانا يشتغلون في المساء، وضغوطات نفسية و فإذا أنت لا تعرف قل لأخيك أو صديقك يا أخي أنت اذهب للشيخ في المنطقة في المسجد التي أنت فيها أو الطبيب واسأله أنا هكذا ظروفي، هل ممكن أفطر؟ هل هناك رخصة؟ على حسب ظروفي أنا وصعوبتي في الامتحانات وظروفي الصحية وظروفي الشغل هل أستطيع أن أفطر أم لا؟ فأنت لا تصعب الأمر على تدخل لماذا لا تصوم؟ أنت يجب أن تصوم، أنت شو اسمه تعمل مشاكل للعائلة وكذا. لا يا أخي، أنت لا تقر من عندك. اسمح له أن يذهب يستشير طبيب أو اسمح له أن يستشير شيخ ويشرح له وضعه الخاص، وذلك الشيخ إما يفتي له بالفطر أو لا يفتي له بالفطر. بس أنت لا تضغط عليه ولا تضغط عليها ولا تقول لها ماذا يقول الجيران علينا، ماذا يقول أولاد عمنا علينا أنك فطرتي وأنك مدري شو. لا، إن الله يحب أن تؤتى عزائمه كما يحب أن تؤتى رخصه. Allah loves that you are tough on yourself in applying the religious activities and duties, but also Allah loves more and as well, Allah loves the same love that you take the permission to sometimes take rukhsa. That means that you have an excuse not to do that activity on that specific day or on that specific location. Allah loves that. You get reward. When somebody is ill, if he breaks his fast, he'll get reward from Allah. And sometimes it's haram on him to fast. If he's ill and he's harming his body, it's haram. So he's going to get a sin for fasting. He's doing a haram action because he's harming his body. And لا ضرر ولا ضرار في الإسلام. So you have to check, test yourself, check your body, especially the people around you as well. Don't put pressure on them, because you don't know their circumstances, you don't know how strong or how weak is their body. So don't make them feel shameful if they feel that a specific day they have to break their fast. So that's very important that we are merciful with our brothers and sisters. Right, إني داع فأمنوا. So inshallah, when you go home, open the Quran and read some of these verses in the Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم إلى قوله وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. فدية طعام مسكين. So read it, study it with your wife, explain it to your wife, say this is the Holy Quran and this is what Ibn Abbas explained to his wife and this is what the scholars Abu Hanifa and Shafi'i and others, they explain what Rasulullah used to teach the Sahaba. So now please try carefully, understand your fasting and how you go about it. Because for some people they fast and they hate their fasting. Some people they fast and they make other people angry and they swear at them and they attack them and they do many causes and harms. And in the end they find out that they don't have to fast. They don't have to fast because they're not well. They're not well, they don't have to fast. So instead of harming other people and shouting and screaming and swearing and making their day horrible and miserable, why didn't you cook this food this way? Why didn't you finish the food earlier? Why didn't you get the shopping? Why didn't you do this and that? Why aren't you studying these hours, so many hours? You know, they don't have to do these things. So learn fiqh of siyam so you know how to discuss these things properly and wisely with your family. The second point I want to talk about is exam. Exam time. We are in exam time. In the UK at the moment, there are around 500,000 or 600,000 Muslim students entering exams this year. The next 3 weeks. They're entering exams the next 3 weeks. Some of them, they know how to manage their exams. Others, they don't. And that's why they get bad grade. So briefly, inshallah, I'm going to just remind you to tell them, to pass the message to their families and to them, and make sure that they apply these tips in these difficult days. These tough days, every minute is worth 10 days in other days, or other months, or other years. Because every minute you waste now, it's so painful and so costly. It affects your career prospects. Entering to a specific university, getting specific grades. And those grades affect as well how much companies in the future will invest in you. If you get A star, or B, or C, or D. So I'm going to talk about only 10 tips, inshallah, in this khutbah, quickly, briefly, or 8 tips. Tip number 1, do not use social media. Some kids, they start, hi, Ahmed, how are you? Oh, I'm well. Oh, what's the latest joke? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they chat, and nearly 1 hour goes on WhatsApp and Facebook. Oh, have you checked your wall on Facebook? What's the latest news? Or what's the latest thing? This kind of addiction, especially in the exam, it is harming you and helping you to get bad results. Oh, I want to relax. Yes, relax, but not 1 hour on WhatsApp, and 1 hour on Facebook, and 1 hour on YouTube, or Twitter. You cannot afford to do this, especially at this specific time. You want to use YouTube for your exam, for exam solutions, doing past papers, that's fine, a good reason. But learn the technique and the skills from that specific tutor that he is showing on YouTube video how to solve the question, the exam question, properly and follow it. But don't just watch one video about your exam questions, physics, chemistry, biology and mathematics, and then you spend straight away on music videos and other videos and comedies and adverts. So avoid using social media unless you are under control, because it's very addictive and it's going to make you really get bad grades. Tip number 2, do not compare your preparation with others. Some students, hello my friend, how are you doing? How many chapters have you finished so far? Really, have you finished 5 chapters? I'm still on my 2nd chapter. Or the other way around. Your friends, is doing 2 chapters. I've already done 5. Oh, I should get relaxed. So I go and waste my day. Go visit here and there and waste my time. Do not compare yourself to others. Every student is a unique in his studies. And every student have different ability from others. And your friend might have done the 5 easy chapters, the 5 easy chapters in his book, and left the other difficult chapters for later on. And you might have started with the 2 difficult chapters in your book and leaving the easy chapters for later on. So it's not the same situation, and it's not the same speed, and it's not the same quality. So do not compare yourself to your friends in your preparation. Do not try any other book. Some people, they stay the whole year using 1 or 2 books, and just 3 days before the exam, or 4 days before the exam, they start a new book, or 2 books. They go and they rush, oh, Dad, I have to buy these 3 books now and look through them and keep myself busy with them. So instead of focusing on the 2 books he's been studying throughout the whole year with his teachers and practicing, he goes and he opens his mind to 3 new books, and he has to rush and jump from here to there, and his brain becomes muddled. And the same thing with scholars and teachers. They used to say, stick to 1 or 2 scholars for a year or 2. Don't jump 5, 6 scholars every week, every day, because that affects your mind, how you learn, the way you learn, the speed, so many things. And especially now if you have an exam, you cannot change books quickly or bring 2, 3 books additional without the supervision of somebody who's very knowledgeable about your personality and your speed and those 2 books or 3 books you're going to start. So that is very crucial, because you could be wasting your time with these new 3 books and not revising properly what you've been studying for the whole year and those 2 books that your teacher has been training you with. So do not start extra 3 books now 3 days or 4 days before the exam. Especially without supervision. If your teacher tells you, yes, you can start these 3 books and I can supervise you, this is a different situation. Avoid procrastination. As I said, oh, today I've done so hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, that's very good. So tomorrow it's all right to do 4 hours, or 3 even. And I go to this movie, and I go to this place, and I go to this shawarma place, or this restaurant. Oh, I've got a good meal, I've got to go, because next week or 2 weeks, I'm not going to get this meal. No, stick to your timetable. If you plan to study 6 hours, and your body can take 6 hours or 9 hours study, stick to that. Do not procrastinate. And say, oh, tomorrow I can add extra, I make X hours extra. Or so many hours. Because you don't know tomorrow how's your health. And how's your mind, whether you have a headache. Or how is your family circumstances. A family problem could happen. Or a financial problem could happen. So do not procrastinate. Avoid procrastination. Divide. After 3 days, 4 days, you have this exam, because nowadays between exams you have small 3 days or 4 days. So divide. Okay, so those 3 days, I have to finish 20 chapters. So the first 2 days, you finish 7 chapters and then 7 chapters. So these are 14 chapters done in the first 2 days. And then the third day, you study in less tense. Because if you study the first day 5 chapters, the second day 5 chapters, then the following day, the third day, you have to do 10 chapters in one go, and it's going to be so tense on your mind and so difficult, and you worry about your grade, and you worry about how well you're going to perform. And the same thing, when you compare yourself with your friends, you start worrying, oh, he's studying faster than me, he's doing things better than me, I'm going to get lower grades, I'm not doing the same, he's getting higher grades, this, and you start worrying about results, and shaitan start coming in, and the waswas from your soul start coming in and confusing you and causing you headaches. So do not procrastinate. If you can do 10 hours a day, study, carry on with that for weeks. 6 hours, carry that, don't go down. Never go down. Stick to your timetable. Point 5, do not get influenced by someone else. Oh, I like the strategy of my friend. He's doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm going to follow it. No, don't just follow it. His strategy suits him, suits his subject, suits his personality, suits his speed. It doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing. Again, if he did those 10 chapters or 5 chapters, he wanted to start with easy chapters. You might want, because you're scared or you don't study well during the year, you might want to decide, I'll start with the 10 difficult chapters. Because this is maybe more useful and suitable for you. If your teacher said, focus on these 10 chapters because the exam questions are coming from these 10 difficult chapters, then you have to use that strategy. Prioritize the advice your teachers or your brother at home or the person who's supervising you or tutoring you or helping you. He tells you, look, you're weak on those 10 chapters. Focus on them. Use this strategy. Oh, no, my friend is doing this and I prefer it. I'm going to use his way or her way. So these kind of comparing strategies and following somebody's strategy and changing your strategy and all this confusion can cause you headaches in the exam and managing your time. Point number 6, quickly, and 7 and 8, I'll just mention them because the time is running out and we need to wrap it up. Do not eat outside food because you could get easily food poisoning and for 2 days you keep on going to the toilet. Or have headaches and you have to sleep. And anyway, try not to oversleep, by the way, when you're doing the exam. Alright? Just sleep the time, that minimum that you need. Alright? So manage your sleeping time, and this is a tip we have to give to the parents as well, how to have the children. Like sometimes it's better for you to lay down for half an hour during the day, so you distribute the blood in your veins equally in your body. Because if you walk during the day, most of the blood is between your stomach and your feet. When you relax and sit down, lay down at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, the blood goes back to the brain. So it's more productive for your studies during that day. You can get on till 11 o'clock at night if you lay down for half an hour or an hour during the daytime. Okay? So do not eat outside food, because you could be poisoned or something could happen to you from that food. Do not get hurt. Do not go to the park every day and play sports and football and basketball. Because if you fall down and injure your leg or your knee, that is going to make 10 days of your exams or 7 days of the exams suffer. Or you could go with sticks to your exams. So avoid being hurt, especially physically. And the 8th one, which is, as I said, very important, do not make your body to get used to oversleeping. Like throughout the whole year you sleep 6 hours, and during the exam time you sleep 8 hours and 9 hours. Don't do that. If your body is used to sleeping 6 hours and you're managing that properly, carry on sleeping 6 hours. And add the next hour during the middle of the day, make them 7. But do not oversleep and say, I'm going to sleep 9 hours, it's Ramadan. Don't do that. Because you have exams. You are different from somebody else. You are different from somebody else. So these are some of the tips that are more and more, because the time is short. And I'll be trying to, during Fajr time, inshallah, and Asr and other times, whenever my health allows me, I'll be talking more about other tips, inshallah, how to prepare and manage your time in the exam. إني داع فأمنوا. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اجعل القرآن الكريم ربيع قلوبنا ونور به بصائرنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم فقهنا في امتحاناتنا. اللهم فقه أولادنا في امتحاناتهم. اللهم فقه بناتنا في امتحاناتهم ودروسهم يا رب العالمين. وأعنهم على إدارة أوقاتهم قبل الامتحان وفي داخل الامتحان إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم وحد صفوف المسلمين وارزقهم الحكمة والتقوى. اللهم ارزق المسلمين في كل أرجاء الأرض الحكمة والتقوى وأعنهم في كل مكان في أفغانستان وفلسطين وسوريا والعراق وليبيا وكشمير يا رب العالمين وفي كل مكان إنك على كل شيء قدير. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وجزاكم الله خير في التبرع للمسجد ولهذا المركز الذي يقدم لنا كثير من الأنشطة والذين حولوه من خمارة إلى مسجد ومن خمارة إلى مدرسة. So please donate generously to our mosque and our center. And we would like to be grateful and thankful to the committee who changed this building from a public house into a mosque and into a school and into a cultural center. وجزاكم الله خيرا.